Hi guys, hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to discuss about single sign-on and how we can implement that using two different Salesforce or via a provider. SSO is very interesting subject matter for me and it's not that much tough to implement, but most of us are a little bit scared about SSO, so that's why we didn't take challenge to implement SSO. But trust me guys, after watching this video, you will able to know what is SSO and how easily you can implement that in your org. So let's get started then. So today's our agenda is what is single sign-on, why we need single sign-on in Salesforce, and how we can implement that in our Salesforce org. We will give a demo in this session regarding implementation. So what is SSO? Single sign-on lets user access authorized network resources with one login. Let me give you an daily life example. We know that a hotel has many rooms and each room has different key. But it's hard for a room service or hotel manager to use particular key for a room. So the hotel management come up with an idea called master key, and using that key a manager or room service can open any room of that hotel. SSO is like that master key. By using a single credential you can log in into any app in which you have access. So in case of enterprise have many apps and each app has different username and password for each user. And sometimes we didn't use some of the app for a long time. And when we try to log in, we forgot the password. And it's obvious that it's hard to remember the credential of those apps. So if we implement SSO in enterprise level, then using only one credential, we can log in into any application in which we have access. So that is a basic idea about what is SSO. Now how we can implement that in why we need single sign-on in Salesforce. We have many business use cases that why we required SSO in Salesforce, but in this video, let me give you some of the example. Suppose an enterprise using three different Salesforce org. One is used as service org where they use to raise cases or contract renewal happen. Those things happen in service org. Another one is act as a marketing org, and the last one is community org. Now, a marketing user has access in marketing org, community org, as well as service org, but they rarely use service org, maybe once in a 2 or 3 months. So it's very obvious that they forgot the credential, and when they try to log in into service org, they end up with locked up their Salesforce account. Then they need to contact their Salesforce system admin so that admin can reset the password and unlock their Salesforce account. So it's a time consuming process and create unnecessary workload for an admin. Then what we can do? How we can mitigate that one? The solution is single sign-on. By implementing single sign-on in a org, suppose in the marketing org, we can able to log in into service org as well as community org using one credential. Now, another example we can business use cases we can think about. Suppose enterprise use Citrix, and once they log in into Citrix, they open different app in which they have access. But for different app, they don't need to provide any username and password. Rather, the Citrix username and password is used to open the app. Now we are accessing Salesforce within Citrix, and we want that same feature for Salesforce also. How we can do that one? Obviously, by implementing single sign-on in Salesforce, we can use that one. So these are the some of the example of why we need single sign-on in Salesforce. Now, how we can implement that one? In our video, we will show you how we can implement single sign-on in two different Salesforce org, and using only one Salesforce or login credential, we can able to log in into another org also. So in this case, our one Salesforce org will act as an identity provider or client party, identity provider or authorization server, and another Salesforce org will act as an client party org. So then what is the implementation step? We will show you in demo all in details, but for a heads up, we are just telling you now. In the org that act as identity provider org, in that Salesforce org, we need to create a connected app, and within that connected app, OpenID OAuth must be selected. Now, in the another Salesforce org that act as a client party, what is mean by client party? Client party means when we try to log in into that Salesforce org which act as a client party, we do not need to give user credential of that org. Rather, we will use the user credential of identity provider org, and using that credential, we will able to log in into the Salesforce org which act as client party. So in the client party Salesforce org, we need to set up domain, we need to create a auth provider, and we need to create or modify registration handler class. So that is all related to theoretical part. Now let's move into demo to see it all in action. So I am already logging into my Salesforce org. This is one Salesforce org, and this is another Salesforce org. Okay, so this Salesforce org, the one whose name start with Samveda in URL, that Salesforce org will act as an identity provider org. And the another one, that is Prayoga, whose URL start with Prayoga, that one will act as an client party org. So in identity provider org, what we need to do? First, we need to create a connected app. To do that one, please navigate to setup homepage. How can you navigate? Click on the setup gear icon and then click on setup. Once you click on setup, a page will open like this. So I'm in setup homepage. Now in the quick find box, I need to type app. So once I type app, under apps, I get app manager. See, I get app manager. Now click on app manager. Once we click on app manager, we will land up in this page. And we need to click on new connected app. Once we click on new connected app, we will get a page like this where we need to create a connected app. So suppose I will create a connected app. Please provide a meaningful name. So for the time being, I am providing like this Salesforce SSO demo. Contact email ID will be any valid email ID. You can able to provide a contact phone logo if you want. Otherwise, you can leave it as blank. It's up to you. I am just leave those field as blank. Now, in this connected app, I need to select OAuth because I am using OAuth protocol for this SSO. So I will click on enable OAuth settings and I need to provide here a callback URL. Please keep in mind that we need when we create our authentication provider in our client party, we need to update this callback URL. So for the time being, I'm just giving a dummy callback URL. Now leave this digital signature as it is, and in the OAuth scope, please select OpenID. This is a mandatory one. You need to select this one. And any other OAuth scope you can select. I am selecting full and ID profile email address. Rest of the field, leave it is as it is. Do not change anything and then click on save and then continue. Once the connected app has been created, you will get a consumer key and consumer secret that will be used later on. So I have already created this one. This one is created and I have got my consumer key and consumer secret. So that is all we need to do in identity provider org. Now we need to go into client party org. So till now I am in my identity provider org. Now I am navigating to my client org, means a different org that act as a client party. Okay. So in this org, what I need to check, my first thing will be I need to check whether my domain is enabled or not. To check that one, you need to navigate to setup page and then in the quick find box, you need to type my domain. So once I click my domain, I need to click on my domain and I will land up in a page like this. My domain is already enabled for me. So that's why I am getting this one. If my domain is not enabled for me, then for you guys, then you need to enable my domain. If you are not sure how to enable my domain, I have a video related to that one. Please have a look on that one, and by looking into that one, you will easily able to implement my domain, easily able to deploy my domain in your Salesforce org. So my domain is enabled for me. I have checked that one. I will leave this page as it is because later on I need to change something in authentication configuration. Now the next step, I need to create an authentication provider. So type auth provider in your quick find box. So you get auth provider. Now you need to, once you click on auth provider, you will get a page like this. If you have not created auth provider previously, then this field and this page will be blank as I have already created one. So this one is coming for me. Now click on new. Once you click on new, you will get a page like this. So here you need to select provider type. In this case, as we are using both Salesforce org for single sign-on, so we need to select Salesforce. Okay, as our identity provider is Salesforce, so we choose Salesforce in provider type. If it's something different, like if you want to use Google as an identity provider, then choose Google. If any third-party app like any other app, then select OpenID Connect. So for me, it's Salesforce because my identity provider is also Salesforce. So that's why I have selected Salesforce. Now give a meaningful name like SSO IDP demo. Please keep in mind this name is very important because this will also come in your login page. I will show you that. So keep this name meaningful as much as possible. Now, where can I get that consumer key and consumer secret? Remember that we have created a connected app in our identity provider. So from there, we will get our consumer key. This is our consumer key. And this is our consumer secret. Okay. Authorization, do not change authorization endpoint URL and token endpoint URL. Open scope will be OpenID and custom URL will be custom error URL. If any error happens, then in which URL it will be navigate. So that URL you need to provide. You will build a custom page and you can use that URL in this one. For me, I have not created any custom page, so that's why I'm using the login URL of this org. And logout URL will also be same for me. Now registration handler class. Registration handler class is a class. Suppose a user who is not for whom we have not created a login credential in this org, if it is a new user, but that user also have already access in your identity provider. So your identity provider authenticate that user and that user try to log in into your org, then what we will do with that user, whether we are going to create a new user or we are going to means if we create a new user, then what profile does that user have, or if that user already exists in your client party org, then what we need to do, whether we need to update any field or not, that sort of things will be there in this registration handle class. So click on automatically create a registration handle class if you do not have any class already, or if you want to create a handler class before creating auth provider, then please create a class and that class must implement auth.registration handler interface. So for the time being, I will just click on this one and execute will be my name. Icon URL, you can choose or create your sample icon. For time being, I am using Salesforce provided default icons. So this one. Okay. Now I will click on save. Once I will click on save, I will get some URL in auth provider. So I have created this org and I will get some of the URL. So this is our callback URL. So we need to update this callback URL in our connected app that I have already mentioned previously. So in my connected app, this is my IDP org. If you see, this is my IDP org. And in this org, I need to update the callback URL in connected app that I have just created. So I will update the callback URL and I will click on save, continue. Please keep in mind this will take at least 15 to 20 minutes to update this connected app. And if you try to access this SSO, this connected app via your auth provider after changing this callback URL, then it will not reflect instantly. It will take minimum 15 to 20 minutes. Then only you will able to log in. If you just try to log in now, what error you will get, I will show you that one. Suppose this is my org. So this is the error message that you will get if you try to access that SSO right after changing the callback URL. Okay, so if you get this error message, please wait for 15 to 20 minutes and then try again because it takes time to reflect. Okay, so that's why I have created another connected app previously so that I don't need to wait for that long time. This is my connected app, and this is my authentication provider that I have already created previously. Now, what I need to do, the last thing that is pending in my domain, I need to update this authentication configuration. So this is the last step that we need to do. So I will click on edit, and then I need to click on the authentication provider that will help us to log in. So this will my Salesforce IDP. So in this authentication service, you will get all the authentication provider that you have created. So for the time being, I am select Salesforce IDP and I will click on save. Okay. So now all done. If I need to check whether this authentication provider or my connected app is working or not, Salesforce has given me a test only URL, and using this URL I'm able to test that one. So this is the URL provided by Salesforce. If I click on that one, it will redirect me to the login page of the URL. So currently I am in Prayoga app. This will act as a client party app. So I will not provide the user credential of this auth. Rather, I will use the user credential of my IDP auth. That is this one. Okay. So I will provide. Once I click on login, you see it's now in Samveda. The URL is Samveda Lightning, and that is the URL of my IDP org. That is not the URL of my Prayoga org where I have created the authentication provider. So I need to click on allow so that it will authenticate. So I will click on allow, and then it will redirect me to the client org, that is Prayoga. This is my client org where I have created my authentication provider. So it redirects me and it gives me the details using which I try to log in into this org. So if you get this user details, that means your authorization provider and connected app is working absolutely fine. Okay. So once let me log out from this page and try to log in using my identity provider. Now, when in my domain, I have changed this authentication provider as login form as well as Salesforce IDP. So that's why in this org, I get username, password, and also I get a single icon like this, Salesforce IDP. That is my authentication provider name. So this is this is what SSO is. So using this is the SSO connection. So if your identity provider is a Facebook or Citrix or Twitter, in my case it's Salesforce, so that's why I'm using the Salesforce icon. So you can use any other identity provider, and once you click on this one, it will redirect you the login page of that particular app. For my case, both the org is Salesforce, so that's why it's redirect me to the login page of Salesforce. If it is Google, then you will be redirect to the Google login page. Okay, so I will click on login with different user ID. For me, it's Samveda because I'm trying to log in into Prayoga, but my LTP Salesforce or credential is this one, so I am providing this one. And I will hit on login. This is now Prayoga. So I am logged in. Okay, so but this user is not the user, is not the system admin user. This is the user of a standard profile user. A different profile user has been created. Why this is created? Because in my class, in my auth provider class, I have written the logic like this. Let me show you that one. So this is my standard user profile. So let me show you that one. For that one, yeah. So see here I have written if any user exists with that email ID in which I try to log in. If it exists, then do nothing. If it does not exist, then create a user with standard user profile. So that's why a new user created with a standard user profile. And you can modify this this class as per your business requirement. This is a Salesforce auto-generated class, so that's why its name is auto-created reg handler. But it implements this one. So hope this will help you. Hope you get an idea about how to implement a single sign-on in two different Salesforce org. Hopefully you will able to now easily implement Salesforce in single sign-on in your Salesforce org. Thank you for much. Thank you for watching my video. Have a nice day.